Hey, I'm Joe.
And this is Evan.
And this is the Nonsensory Podcast. On today's episode, we discuss Retro Studios and Metroid Prime 4.
Good hype.
Microsoft Ultimate looks to be the best thing ever for subservices.
Good hype.
And Sony anticipates massive sales for the PS5.
Massive.
Dogs.
Mastiff. Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Nonsensory Podcast. You can hear our soothing voices every week by finding us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. If you'd like to check out Joe's massive head wound, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube or come check out our regular Tuesday stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/nonsensory. On social media, we tweet at Nonsensory1, and you can find us on the face page at Nonsensory Podcast. You can also support us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/nonsensorypod. We have 4 tiers of membership ranging from $1 to $20, and perches ranging from Louisiana Perch Card. Perks range from getting to vote in polls to getting to read a personal greeting at the start of our show. With that said, Joe, let's get started with our question of the day, shall we?
Wait, hold on.
Oh, it's
one thing real quick.
Yes. How is your head wound?
My son smacked my head off the wall today. Today is Thursday. Today's Thursday. Oh, poop. Yeah, good call.
We got it.
We
remembered this time.
Oh, yeah. So, how about you? How are you today?
Today. So I recently built a computer for my nephew.
Oh, hey.
And it's his first computer ever. He's home from Florida. I've said this before on other episodes, but for those who don't know my family, he's home from Florida, and we're kind of palling around, spending time together, and he's just like randomly reveals to me, hey, I really want to play Doom Eternal. I love PCs, and I want one. And I was like, well, let's see what I got. So I got him together some very basic stuff. It's not the greatest, but it can play Doom at like 1080p on low at 60 FPS, which is fine. He's 13. You know, it's his first computer. You can deal with the free computer, okay?
Yeah.
For free, it performs great. But
yeah.
So you know, I'm a big nerd and computer fan. I freaking get new stuff, build stuff for other people, grab parts, keep parts around, and I was able to hook up with a friend and 2 of my friends and get enough stuff together to make him a PC, and now he's stoked. I brought him over Friday, and was like, hey, there's a box. Will you carry the box upstairs for me? And it had like 2 pieces that I had ordered for it. And he was just like, oh, what are we doing with this? And I was just like, well, we're going to build you a computer today. And he was just like, no. No. He had like it's like the most cheese face ever. He was like, really? I was like, yeah. So he got together with me, and we just kind of, I didn't show him everything. I was like, this is where this goes and that goes, and he was just like, oh, all right. He wasn't really interested in it, but I had him do the screwdriver to a few pieces and kind of guide him through it, so he'd like have a little bit of an experience of actually putting it together with me. And he really,
I'll remember that.
He's really stoked. So
that's awesome. That's a delightful way to start our podcast.
Oh, isn't it delightful?
I think so.
The computer builder in me is so...
My heart grew 3 sizes that day. And then I had an aneurysm and died.
Dude, you're having some medical issues today. All right. So, should we get into the question this time?
Let us dive.
All right. So, the question of the day, which you can participate in.
Please do.
Let us know what your answer would be in the comments below. Send us a tweet at Nonsensory1. You can also send us an email at nonsensorypod@gmail.com. Just, engage with us. We love you. So the question of the day is, what game gives you the best arsenal of weapons and or abilities? Defend your answer. Joseph, since I asked the question, you go first because I want to put you on the spot. Ha!
Ha! Ha! So I actually had 2 answers to this question, because one was like...
Already leading with a cop-out. All right.
No. One was like a bait, and the other, and then I was going to hit you with the Switch, but I don't remember what the bait was.
Don't throw your console at me, dude. You might break it.
So I'm just going to have to hit you with the Switch.
Okay.
So I actually picked Super Smash Brothers.
Oh, I mean, that's good. That's a good pick, man. Characters.
How you could ever top that? Like, no matter what you say, it's like, really, there's like a billion things.
Yeah, it's like Smash Ultimate has every single character ever of all time.
Yeah. So you just try and top me. I just like destroyed your day.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. A lot of the games that I really like to play. This is a modern game problem, right? Where they give you abilities, but you also like it's like a lot of the weapons and stuff that you get to use are very grounded in reality. So you like, you know, even in like Future Warfare, Duty Calls 29, you still get like a submachine gun and like all this stuff. So for me, the first thing that came to mind for me was Doom Eternal, because like. The weapons are just iconic. Like, granted, a lot of them are like what I just said, where you get like a light machine gun and a shotgun, but they have their different firing modes and stuff like that, and they're all like really chunky and fun to use. And you can upgrade them, and you get like some of the most iconic weapons in gaming history, like the double barrel shotgun, the hook shotgun in the new one, where you can pull yourself across to enemies and just blast them in the face, is the best thing ever. You get the double dash. The double jump, and like the BFG is like iconic as hell. They added in like the Gauss cannon and like the I forget the Unmaker. Like there's just so many fun weapons. The chainsaw, like it's just fantastic. Like if I were to bring the chainsaw from Doom Eternal into the real world and just cut somebody in half and then get like a whole bunch of ammo, I'd be like, wee, and they'd just be like covered in like, oh my god, I love it. Like, hypothetically.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say that got... we don't condone
my arsenal
chainsaw murder on Nonsensory podcast.
My arsenal isn't as big as your arsenal.
Okay, so with that being said, you actually brought out something... You answered the question in a much better way, I think. I really feel like mine's a cop-out. And so my real answer, I think, would actually be Borderlands.
Oh, that's like an infinite arsenal.
Exactly. So Smash is kind of a cheat answer because it's like, look at all these abilities and characters and weapons and everything, and it's like
not a cheat answer.
I think it is. I think it's clever, but it's definitely not an actual answer to the question because it's multiple series.
Well, what if I said like Soul Calibur? You know, there's a bunch of characters. They all have different weapons, so that has a wide arsenal. But
that's still one series, whereas Smash is like we're taking a bunch of series. So instead, I'll give you a game.
All right, okay.
And I think, that Borderlands. I really think that it's. I mean, you have infinite weapons, and they all do creative things. They're all really fun to shoot.
Yeah.
And like. The powers are always really interesting, like being able to call your so now I'm thinking of the original, like calling in your bird of prey or whatever, and phase walking was always really fun. And I can't remember what the one from the I always played the Siren, so I don't really know what anyone else's abilities are.
I think the Berserker could just like dual wield heavy weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which one would win? Which one of our arsenals would win, Joe? The arsenal from the Doom guy. I think that the Borderlands arsenal would win. Just out of sheer volume. And really, what makes Doom's arsenal really awesome is that it's like the Doom guy using them.
Yeah.
So like if it was just me, you know, I would very poorly, I would compete very poorly with that arsenal.
So I was gonna actually say that maybe the Doom would win because of the BFG alone.
Yeah, if you could just like literally nuke everything.
But that aside, I kind of agree because pretty much all the other weapons, you know, you'd randomly end up with something better in Borderlands. So,
all right. Well, like I said, if you want to take part and give us your answer, feel free to do so in the comments below. Hit us up on Twitter at twitch.tv or at Nonsensory1. Sorry. Jeez, I'm getting all these web addresses confused. And you can send us an email at gmail at nonsensorypod@gmail.com. So Sorry.
I mean, I have my fair share of stumbles, so let's get into this.
Let's stumble into the day.
So we pretty much are.
This is a big episode for Joe.
Yes.
He's so amped.
So Metroid Prime 4 won't ignore casual players. This is in an article from Nintendo Life by Ryan Craddock. So I more wanted to bring this up because it actually it talks about casual and hardcore gamers, and I thought that it would be interesting as a topic to just bring
for sure.
Bring this article
it was
in.
interesting.
So Metroid series producer, the Prime series producer Kensuke Tanabe has hinted that the upcoming Metroid Prime 4 won't ignore casual players, despite being a title that could be perceived as an experience for core gamers. Tanabe, who is responsible for franchises such as Metroid Prime 4, Donkey Kong, and Paper Mario, has discussed Nintendo's philosophy on game creation in an interview with Nintendo Life Network partner VGC, Video Game Chronicles. First, Nintendo's philosophy on game creation is that we don't ignore casual players in creating our games, unquote, Tanabe said. Quote, this is also true for games such as those in the Metroid Prime series, games that at first glance look like they are only aimed at core gamers. With that in mind, what we've done in the Paper Mario series is to put a lot of work, particularly into puzzle-solving elements of the games, so that they can also be enjoyed by hardcore users. Okay, so like I said, this isn't really huge news in the Metroid Prime sphere, because we're a long way off, as the next article we'll get into. But the idea of so we kind of touched on in our last episode, we talked about like Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima, how they're two samurai story driven experiences
that are completely different in what they try to do.
But one is like, they're way different. But like one is super hardcore.
Yeah.
Like you can't just stumble along into Sekiro.
Yes.
And the other is very friendly to people who just want to have a game experience, like a bouncy ball experience.
Yeah, and I think that maybe that's the thing we're going to move towards. Maybe they're really seeing like, I don't know, maybe it's just two different kinds of philosophy in how you want to make a game. Like with a game like Sekiro, the world is less important than the combat and how difficult it is and the enemies that you face and stuff like that. Where in Sekiro, the combat is much lighter, much easier, much simpler, but because they really want you to explore this big open world and kind of like let the environment and the exploration kind of be the lead on the game, and kind of like I could see them doing the same thing with Metroid Prime, where maybe they de-emphasize the shooting and the combat in favor of more like a cerebral kind of puzzle-solvey kind of way, like what they're talking about here.
Yeah.
Where like if you're not the best at shooting things in Metroid Prime, you can still make it through if you like. Maybe they include some clever ways to get through levels that don't involve combat and stuff like that. Some
more sneakery.
Yeah.
Sneakery. I'm not talking into my microphone.
Sneakery. Sneakery.
I mean, but how do you feel about maybe? I think maybe it applies to me a little more than you. I like to think that maybe you're a little more in the hardcore than me. I'm I like my Dark Souls and everything, but I'm definitely not like a hardcore gamer. I can't hit my pixel perfect, iframes and stuff.
Look, if what they're trying to do is to because I think that Metroid is a very interesting setting that they can take to a ton of different places. Like Samus is a bounty hunter who has a spaceship. She can go like all over a galaxy to all these different kinds of planets and stuff. And like, wouldn't you want to explore those worlds? Like, she's a bounty hunter, but also like it's like if Lara Croft was a bounty hunter, where you kind of like go into these areas and they're open and you kind of explore them and check them out and find stuff. And like exploration has always been kind of built into Metroid as a thing for forever. So I don't know. It depends on how they're taking it. If this is going to be like a linear kind of thing, or if it's going to be more like drop you into a huge environment and go explore it. And
what I was more asking is like in general, in gaming in general, are you like how do you feel about more more casual experiences, or do you think we haven't seen enough of the hardcore games? Because I actually think that the move we've kind of flip-flopped. Like early on in games, there were a lot of games that are super unapproachable.
Yeah.
Like even though they weren't like the style, the 3D style, like there are a lot of super hard platformer games that were very unapproachable. Like Ninja Gaiden, if you ever played the original. Oh man.
Not the original, freaking the Xbox games. Maddening. Pull your hair out. Yeah.
So early on in gaming, there was a lot of hardcore games. You had to be super into it and, a million tries to get anywhere. And then we kind of, I don't know where the shift occurred, but then it was like games were really easy for a long time. And it felt like when we got the Dark Souls, the Bloodborne stuff, sorry, the Darkborn,
the
Souls. Yeah, thank you. I was looking for the words. Something I know what the combo is.
Sounds like a foot disease. Oh, I got the blood soul. I'm gonna pop my blood soul.
It started getting harder again, and now it seems like. Well, I mean, this is only Nintendo, but then we also talk about PS5 and all what Sony seems to be aiming for. Mm-hmm. Are we moving back into a let's lighten things back up, ease things back up time kind of atmosphere? Or can we just find a good mix?
I think that those things are out there. I think that the hardcore stuff is still out there. If you really want like a hardcore platformer like Celeste, you can go out and play Celeste. And Celeste is a perfect example of this because it's like it can be hardcore as hell if you go and play through it a second time and play through on like the dark mode or whatever. And then there's like another difficulty after that. But on the basic normal difficulty, it's like challenging, but it's very relaxed and it wants you to just get through the game. Mm-hmm. And that's opposed to something like Super Mario Odyssey, which is not hard at all. It's like very kid friendly, like very easy. So like if you want stuff like this, like super hardcore, it's out there. And if you want stuff I think that in the mainstream in the AAA space, we tend to get stuff that's trying to be less difficult just to be more accessible, and to kind of tell their stories, to make sure that the gameplay doesn't get too much in the way. Because like especially with like we talk about Sony games, like they put so much focus on storytelling and character and environment and all that other stuff and like the graphics and the presentation that like it's not surprising that their games are relatively simple from a gameplay perspective. Like,
well, the trend I've noticed in a lot of those is that they actually. Maybe they do have their really hard modes, but they'll have like a story mode where it's literally you can just walk through things.
Yeah, I think especially like look at The Last of Us, the accessibility options, like the way that you can tweak every like there's I think there's like 5 or 6 different tweakable aspects of just the difficulty level. I think that might be the biggest thing that like that game leaves behind. Is like The Last of Us 1 was the biggest, like the greatest piece of video game storytelling we'd seen, up to that point. And that was kind of the legacy that it left. But like, I think that maybe the legacy of The Last of Us 2 might be like the accessibility options and like the difficulty tweaking options to make it as hardcore as you want or as easy as you want. And it's not just like, it's more granular than it is just like flat out like the AI is worse at shooting, it gives you like, maybe the shooting's fine, but you just aren't finding enough stuff. So maybe you just increase the amount of loot drops that you get and stuff like that. I think that kind of stuff really just gives the best possible experience for people because you can just tweak it however you want.
This went to an interesting place because what you're saying that gives that like I had this awesome thought like what if we got to a place where the AI of the game, instead of just being focused on controlling enemies and making enemies like really smart, which is, that's good. Mm-hmm. What if the AI was more focused on tailoring the experience to be just hard enough for the player playing to make you keep going, and just getting you to sit on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, I think they have stuff like that currently, and that's kind of what they shoot for in game design and difficulty in general, is to make things, just hard enough to make you feel like accomplished, but not so that you're just destroying everything.
But what I'm saying is, like, literally the computer is just constantly analyzing you and going, how do I push them the next bit further?
Yeah, I think with maybe we'll see more of that with the increase in power of the new consoles. They'll have
that'd
more,
be so awesome.
They'll have more resources to dedicate to like AI in that way.
Can you imagine playing a game and just the entire time, nonstop, the whole way through, you're just...
Yeah, and it's just like perfectly tailored to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. All right, let's move on to the next piece of news. Metroid Prime 4 dev Retro Studios is amidst a hiring spree. This is written by Ryan Craddock as well at Nintendo Life. Retro Studios, the Nintendo subsidiary currently working on the highly anticipated Metroid Prime 4, has reportedly boosted its ranks with yet another industry veteran. As spotted by Video Game Chronicle, the studio has hired...
this one is bonkers.
Bat Nandakumar as lead engineer. Previously, Nandakumar held specialist engineer and senior software engineer roles at Call of Duty developer Treyarch, including a technical lead position on the PC version of Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Completed in April, this hire is the latest in a string of exciting new arrivals at Retro. Recent newcomers include Adad Morales, Brian Irk, Nicholas Wilson, who have worked on the likes of Battlefield Hardline, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Borderlands 3, respectively, as well as Mark Capers, previously of New Super Lucky's Tale developer Playful. Other names like James Beach, Crisis 3 and DC Universe Online, Stephen Dupree, Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, and Kyle Heffley, Halo, have also joined the studio. Retro has been recruiting heavily ever since it was announced that the team would be taking on development of Metroid Prime 4, with its job page still advertising for several roles.
Okay. This article was actually from a little bit ago.
Right.
But the reason I wanted to pull it was because I did not realize the names that they were pulling down.
Oh yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, these are some definite industry veterans, especially in like the first person shooter space. So it definitely doesn't seem like it's going to be any slouch as a first person shooter, which I don't think the Metroid games, the Prime series, has ever been a slouch when it comes to that. But it's been so long since we had a Metroid Prime game that, I think it's only good that they bring on people that have like more of a modern take than just going off of what they did in the previous one and trying to emulate that,
Yeah. I mean, I do wonder, with all this going on, like what was happening way back in January of 2019 when they announced that they were going to scrap it and start over.
Yeah.
I wonder what was happening before and what names were involved before.
Yeah.
I mean, was it a problem of people just not taking the game seriously enough? I mean, was it just not heading in the right direction? I don't know. I don't know. Do you think that, like the previous article where they said they're focusing more on like the casual aspects of it, do you think that that's the switch in direction that they're going for? Do you think maybe it was too much of a hardcore shooter kind of game? And I don't know. So,
because if you're looking for exploration, right? Shadow of the like somebody that worked on Shadow of the Tomb Raider and like Super Lucky's Tale,
right? It definitely looks like they're, from some of these, that they are heading towards. I mean, yeah, you have your first-person shooter, but you have your adventure stuff. I mean, Borderlands 3, that's heavy shooter.
Metroid's always been like shooters, platformers, exploration, right? And so Crisis 3 had big open levels. Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, puzzles, platforming. Super Lucky's Tale, puzzles, platforming. Like, it seems like they've got basically, here's the shooter side, here's the platforming and puzzle side. We're bringing in all these people that just have expertise in those areas. Let's see what happens.
Well, the reason that I think I don't think it was that maybe it was going too hardcore. The reason I think that maybe it was not being taken seriously as a project so much was because, so there was a spat of really terrible Metroid games after Metroid Prime 3.
Yeah.
That were just, I mean, we're not even going to speak of them.
Yeah, Metroid Other M, right? Wasn't that like a...
That one was very not great. and there was a couple of other ones. There was like one on the DS that was like Galaxy Force or something really, really stupid. So me and my brother were talking about it this morning, actually, and it was like Nintendo doesn't really make a lot of money off the Metroid series, actually.
Okay.
The thing about Metroid is it really only sells really well in the States. It doesn't do so well in Japan, and like
Japanese gamers don't really like first-person shooters as much as we do. Yeah.
And so they actually invest a lot of money to get not so much return in any Metroid game. And so I have a feeling that maybe whatever studio they were working with or whatever, maybe might not have been putting that much effort into it.
Yeah.
And like Retro Studios is Texas based.
Legendary studio.
And they've done all of the Metroid Primes so far, so it's only natural that they should have been doing it anyway.
Right.
Up till this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's weird that they didn't even have them doing it in the first place.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that was part of it. We need to move on.
Yes, let's move on. I believe this one is you, Joe.
Is it me? Oh, yeah, you did read it. Okay. So
these next two pieces kind of go together, so I think we should read them both at the same time, like one after the other, and then react to them. How's that sound?
Okay, that sounds good. Cool. Microsoft no longer selling 12-month Xbox Live Gold plans. This is an article by Vicky Blake at Games Radar. Microsoft has withdrawn 12-month Xbox Live subscriptions from sale in its Microsoft stores. While codes are still available via third-party retailers elsewhere, the option to buy the 12-month subscription which offered the best value to players, was digitally delisted without notification, prompting some to presume it was made in error. Now, however, Microsoft has confirmed the removal of the year-long plans from sale was not accidental, kicking off a flurry of speculation that the Xbox Live Gold service, which spans 2 generations of Xbox consoles, is either going to be significantly changed or removed entirely with the arrival of next gen. While the company wouldn't be drawn on why the subscription had been withdrawn, a Microsoft spokesperson told True Achievements, at this time, Xbox has decided to remove the 12-month Xbox Live Gold SKU from the Microsoft Online Store. Customers can still sign up for a 1-month or 3-month Xbox Live Gold subscription online through the Microsoft Store. Good grief.
Okay, and this next one is Microsoft is to launch XCloud as part of Game Pass Ultimate for free. This is by Tom Warren at The Verge. Microsoft is planning to launch The Verge. Microsoft is planning to launch its game streaming service, currently known as Project XCloud, free to its paying Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers in September. The XCloud service will allow Xbox players to play games on mobile devices or even start a game on their consoles and resume it on their phone or tablet. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate combines Xbox Live Access and Xbox Game Pass subscription, and starting up in September, XCloud game streaming into a single $14.99 monthly subscription. Microsoft is promising that more than 100 Xbox Game Pass titles will be playable on a phone or tablet when the streaming service launches. Microsoft isn't detailing which countries will be supported at launch just yet, though. The company has been building its Azure data centers across the U.S. and in parts of Europe with Xbox One S blades to stream Xbox games through xCloud. Microsoft will upgrade these servers to Xbox Series X hardware in 2021. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate will be the only way to access xCloud streaming at launch, but it won't always be limited to Microsoft's top subscription tier. Over time, we will continue to expand how we introduce streaming as part of the platform, and playing games that you own aren't part of the subscription, says Microsoft Xbox chief Phil Spencer in an interview with The Verge. For launch, we're putting it in Ultimate for no additional cost. We think it's a good audience for us to start with, and it's an audience that plays a lot of games. We want to bring xCloud eventually to every screen that someone can stream games to. Right now, we're just staying mobile, says Spencer. There are discussions going on, and we're working through things. We'll talk more specifically about which mobile devices through August and the September launch. So, it seems like they're just trying to bring everything together under one umbrella. Yep. You know, rather than offering these 3 separate services, why not? Because it says right here that they already offer Xbox Live Access and Xbox Game Pass subscription and xCloud for $14.99 a month. So why not just make that the only option?
Yeah, I think that's I think that is what they're doing.
And I think it's super smart because when they launch the Xbox Series X, not only will they have all the games that they've already shown, all the stuff that they've shown at the third-party game, the showcase, the new showcase that they're going to have on the 23rd for their first party, but then they also go into launch saying this is the craziest amount of games that you'll ever be able to play on a console launch ever, between Game Pass and XCloud and all the new titles that are coming out. There's gonna be so much that you could potentially play if you buy an Xbox One or an Xbox Series X or an Xbox Series S. It's gonna be insane what you can do, you know. And if you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of money and you go out and you buy the Xbox Series S and then you get the $15 subscription, you have hundreds of games at your fingertips for $15 versus like in previous generations. If I went out and bought a PS4, well, then I needed to buy a game, and then it was $60, and so I've already bought the console and then spent $60 just to play one thing. Mm-hmm. You know, and with this, you're spending $15 to play hundreds of titles. Granted, they're mostly old titles, but you don't know what they're gonna add to the service at launch of Xbox Series X that might, you know, sweeten the deal even more. If they say that Halo Infinite launches with Xbox Series X and it's also going to be available on Game Pass at launch, you know. So, and I think that this works also really well with what they were talking about with wanting to have a subscription for the console itself. So if they can get you, you know, 15, 20, 30 bucks a month for the console plus $15.99 or $14.99 for everything, and you're just out the door for $50-$60, and you've got hundreds of games, Xbox Live access, you can play stuff on your phone, your tablet, and you have a new console. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
So
this is a brilliant move, for sure, and it's a little bit of uncomplicating things.
Yeah,
it's like they're taking, like you said, they're taking these three services, and if you have three services or more, like, I mean, let's say so Netflix already has DVDs and then has streaming, and let's say that they had a couple of other options. Okay, I don't know what they would be, but just for hypothetical, if you're already paying for streaming, the odds that you're going to be like, okay, and now I'll pay for this, and now I'll pay for this, and now I'll pay for this, and like, you're more aware of the extra that you're spending.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's all in one, you feel like, oh, I'm only spending $15 and I'm getting all this. Not
look
I'm
at the
spending
deal
how
I'm
much.
getting here.
Yeah, it's like it flips it on its head. Even if you are paying more, you feel like I'm getting so much more for the money. It's a brilliant move.
Yeah, I think that this has got to be scary for Sony.
Yeah, this is looking pretty intense.
You know, like Sony has its own streaming platform too, but is nowhere near as promising and developed and has the resources behind it as something like XCloud. They don't have a Game Pass service. They haven't said anything about, you know, they're probably still going to charge $60 a year or more for access to PS Plus.
Do you think this is the move that they're trying to make with investments into Epic? Or
I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see. I just think that Microsoft has been making moves towards this stuff for so long that, of course, they're ahead of the curve with Sony. And I do think that maybe Sony will probably see something competitive to this from Sony, but just farther down the line. And to me, Microsoft is definitely going to beat them to the punch with this.
Oh, yeah.
And it might be a big issue for PS5. But speaking of PS5,
I don't know if it will be. But let's get into the next one. Sony doubles production of PS5 to 10 million units. This is an article by Sharif Saeed on VG 24/7. Sony is seemingly much more positive about the demand for PS5 this year and beyond, according to a Bloomberg report. The platform holder is ramping up production with the goal of making 10 million units before the end of the year. This follows a report back in April that suggests Sony was expecting to sell fewer units of PS5 at launch compared to PS4. At the time, it was believed that Sony was aiming for 5 to 6 million units before the end of March 2021. This massive boost is in part the result of Sony's updated outlook on the demand for gaming in the post-coronavirus world. Sony also anticipates that logistical challenges could end up delaying shipments, and the company wants to avoid the Switch stock shortage Nintendo struggled with for many months this year. Mass production of PS5 began in June, and Bloomberg says around 5 million of that 10 million initial block is expected to be done by September. This first batch will supply the allotment at launch, and into the holidays, the other 5 million will be finished between October and December, meaning they'll end up at retailers in the first quarter of 2021. By comparison, 4.5 million PS4 units were shipped to retailers in 2013, and it took until June 2014 for that figure to reach 10 million. Assuming there's enough demand to justify this increase in production, PS5 sales may be stronger out of the gate compared to PS4. So, I think that's... I don't know if it's... just blindness or what? Like, because I don't think you're selling more.
I don't know, because the thing that Sony had going for it back in the last console generation was that they were cheaper and that they just had better marketing. You know, Xbox fumbled a ton and made PS4 look better in comparison, and Microsoft isn't doing that right now. If anything, Sony is the Microsoft of this time, where they've fumbled their messaging. They're providing probably the more expensive console because Microsoft is completely devoted to undercutting the PlayStation 5. And even if they come out around the same price that makes it negligible on the high end, they still want to release Lockhart for very cheap. So expecting to outsell PS4, I don't know. I mean, I think that the goodwill that Sony has with their first party might be enough to carry them through. People might, Sony might be in an Apple scenario where everybody, no matter how, lazy and behind the times the iPhone looks in comparison to some Android phones, they still sell 1 billion of them just because of the name. And you associate Apple with a decent amount of the market associates Apple with quality, and a large part of this generation has associated Sony with the better quality exclusives, and that's might be enough to have people move on. I know a bunch of people are really, really like, as far as my friend group, everybody I know is talking about PS5 and not Series X.
Yeah. Same.
And the interest, I think there was like 13 million people that watched the PS5 reveal versus like 4 million that watched the Xbox Series X reveal. So the interest for Sony probably sees the tracking of the PS5 across social media and just the internet page view hits and stuff like that. And they're just saying like, wow, look at how much people are talking about us versus the Xbox. And that probably helps, buoy the confidence that they have in it.
Yeah.
But I think when it all comes down to it and everything's on the table, I think that could change really quickly, because it's a lot about what you've done for me lately. And when we get into new consoles, people really care about the hardware and the launch titles and stuff. They don't really care so much about what you did before, So if Microsoft can come out with the cheaper console that has all those services bundled together.
Well, here's my counter to that argument.
Lay it on me.
So I actually agree that the odds that Sony's going to hit 10 million by December, or I guess that's just production, but that they really think they're going to move in a way that necessitates that kind of production.
Right.
I think that's foolhardy. But the counter to your argument as far as sales to whether or not Microsoft is going to steal sales and all of that. Maybe a few, because with the previous articles that we discussed, you are talking about, like you said, you get all your games like right at launch, you got, with Game Pass, you're going to just have all these hundreds and hundreds of titles. But the problem is, all of those are titles you've played before, probably. You're getting all this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's all past stuff.
Yeah.
Now, it's nice, but PS5 so far, like, Sony has control of the narrative because they're like, they've said, look at all our first party stuff. Like, we're still waiting on this from Microsoft.
Yeah, and with another rumored state of play in August for PS5, it's like even if Microsoft comes out and crushes it on the 23rd first party showcase, Sony could come out with even more heavy hitters. It could just be redundant and they're going over the stuff that they've already shown.
I don't think so.
But I don't think so either. I think that they will probably have a lot more to show. And I'll say that maybe in the short term at launch, what Microsoft is doing isn't going to be enough to have it come out on top over Sony. But like you were saying with the new games, as we get farther into the generation, Microsoft's going to be releasing new games. And then if you're really looking at it and going, I want to play this new game, it's available on Game Pass for $15, or I can buy it on the PS5 for $60. And a lot of people do end up coming and buying consoles well after launch. So if Microsoft can convert a bunch of their exclusive stuff to be on Game Pass as well, I think that they could really offer something that Sony can't compete with.
Maybe.
So
I mean, it remains to be seen. I think I think both of them are throwing some huge punches. But we are far from the end of the match.
I'm really unsure. I have no idea how this is going to shake out. And I'm just like, guy with popcorn gift just sitting there just like, let's see how this goes, because I didn't buy a PS4 until well into the generation. And I won't say that I won't buy a console at launch, but I need to see more.
Wasn't the guy with the popcorn Michael Jackson?
Sure, I think there's a lot of popcorn eating gifts. Anyhow, this will be our final.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Our final little piece of news for the day: Microsoft has halted production of Xbox One S Digital Edition and Xbox One X. This is from Andy Robinson at Video Game Chronicle. As we quote, as we ramp into the future with Xbox Series S, we're taking the natural step of stopping production on Xbox One X and Xbox One S All Digital Edition. A Microsoft spokesperson told The Verge. Xbox One S will continue to be manufactured and sold globally. While production is ending on the consoles, it's likely the stock for some retailers will be available in the coming months. Gamers can check with their local retailers for more details on Xbox One hardware availability, Microsoft said. Xbox One X, originally billed as the world's most powerful console, was launched in November 2017, while the discless All Digital Edition was launched only last year. It's understood that the two machines will effectively be replaced in the Xbox portfolio by a second, less powerful Xbox Series X console, likely to be called Series S. The console, codenamed Lockhart, is understood to have been with developers for several months. The yet-to-be-announced next-gen console SKU is designed to appeal to cost-conscious players and will reportedly target 4 teraflops compared to the 12 of Series X. Lockhart has been reported in the press several times in the past year, and recent press leaks indicate Microsoft is going ahead with its two-console plan. Game developers are expected to support both Xbox Series X and Lockhart, VGC understands, in a similar setup to the existing Xbox One X and Xbox One S consoles, and PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro. Microsoft is set to hold an Xbox Game Showcase on July 23rd. However, in a tweet on Thursday, Xbox marketing head Aaron Greenberg said not to expect any hardware reveals. So when are they going to show the Series S? If they're not going to show it at this showcase, why am I talking like, if they're not going to show it at this showcase, when are they going to show it, Joey?
Wow. That's actually like
pretty good.
That was a very good Christopher Walken impression.
Thank you. I've been working very hard on it. So, I mean, I just don't, I'm not surprised by this because like we were saying, I think we were talking about it before the show. Basically, I think they probably have enough in production of these two consoles that they probably realize that they're going to just try to sell out of what they have remaining, and that interest in them will wane as we get farther into the generation, and they'll probably have enough availability to get through that. And then once they're done because they'll be kind of redundant to have those consoles on the market for purchase alongside the Series S, which is supposed to be around the same price as the Xbox One X. There's so many names, dude. It's so dumb. I hate it. Microsoft, you suck.
Yes.
Your
Yes,
names,
you do.
your names are the worst. And I think that it's interesting. This is one thing that I hadn't thought of that I'm interested to see what you think about. They're going to continue to make Xbox One S, which has the disk drive. And I wonder if that's specifically because it's more friendly to regions that have little to no internet access, because it still has a disk. So even into the future, like countries like Brazil that generally get consoles way later because it costs exorbitantly more for them to get hardware in those countries, and internet access is worse in a lot of countries. This is just like, maybe this will be the $100 console that Microsoft offers, where they're saying you can get an S for $100. You won't need an internet connection.
To remove a bit of confusion, I'm going to refer to the Series S that they're talking about as Lockhart.
Okay.
As it's been rumored, just to make it clear what we're talking about.
Sure.
Okay, so what you're saying is, instead of having Lockhart in like places like Brazil, they'll just keep the One S.
Yeah, because
because it still has a disk drive.
Yeah, I think the One S, the Lockhart, the Series S, Lockhart. See? I think that they're going to have that because it's supposed to be all digital as well, I think.
Right.
And if it is, and you live in a country that has, restrictive data caps or poor internet connectivity or no connectivity, like, it's worthless to you. And so they need to have something for those parts of the world.
Right, because otherwise your only other option is the One X or the Series X, which is way more expensive.
Right, which for somebody in Brazil, it's like equivalent of like $1,000+ to get one in those countries. It's insane. That's why that's why the PS3 and Xbox 360 are like actually like still selling in those kind of areas, is because like the import costs are just ridiculous, and it's just not, people can't afford that. So I think it's interesting. Xbox One X occupies a strange price point. And the Xbox One S digital edition doesn't have a disk drive, and it's kind of, for budget conscious people, and the regular Series S or the regular Xbox One S is a better fit for the territories that it would work in, I think so.
Yeah, I think that's this whole console generation is just too confusing. Yeah. All of it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that it sucks because we haven't had that E3 stability. So everything's just kind of, there's just news comes out randomly on different days, and it's just, it's hard to track. It's hard to track the evolution of this.
It could also be, and this is my optimist speaking here, is that maybe it's just because we are just trying so many new ideas in this current generation, and it's kind of refreshing, in a sense. And so, we'll see where it leads, and then maybe it's a net positive for gaming future.
I think going on the optimism and the positivity, which I think is a good thing to end the show with, is that it seems like with this next gen, it seems like things are going to be expensive, and the technology that you're going to get is going to facilitate that kind of cost, and games might get more expensive, but you're going to have a ton of options.
Yes.
and across the board, no matter your budget, no matter where you live, there's going to be an option for you. And I think that's really cool because gaming's for everybody.
Okay, that's all for today. Remember to like and subscribe wherever you are listening. We would like to hear from you, so comment if you would like. And you can email us at nonsensorypod@gmail.com or tweet at us at nonsensory1. Please do. Also, we stream Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so please come check us out at twitch.tv/nonsensory. And if you can please support us on Patreon at patreon.com/nonsensorypod. And as always, we love you. We love you. Please talk to us. What's wrong? Please talk to us.
Why are you so quiet, Daddy? Be easy, guys.